Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the John Bierchen Show. I am play-by-play voice Kendall Grayson, joined as always by head coach John Bierchen. Thanks for joining us this week. Coach, let's go back to last Friday. It was Harambe night here at the Pelham Civic Complex. I think a really great event that brought a lot of people to the rink and raised some awareness for endangered species.
Yeah, well, we did a really good job. We were able to sell the picture that Sean, our adopted monkey, drew, and we were able to auction off some of the Harambe jerseys. There are still some available, so if you would like them, just go to our website, and that will show you all the information and how you can purchase the remaining jerseys. Again, 10% of all the profits that are made are going to the Suncoast Primate Sanctuary that does really good work in Palm Harbor, Florida. So if you're ever down there, Palm Harbor is only about 10-15 minutes from the beach in Pinellas County, which is a big destination spot. So if you're ever down there, certainly check it out. But overall, it was a really good success. It brought a lot of attention to endangered species. So, hopefully the money that we raise goes to a good cause.
Coach, let's now go to our fan question of the week, and it comes from Alabama hockey fan Doug Shue. And his question is concerning the possible transition of the game going from a more of a physical game to more of a finesse style game. Do you think that's happening in today's modern hockey?
Well, definitely. If you look at a lot of the successful teams in the NHL, the Pittsburgh Penguins, who just won the Stanley Cup this past year, Chicago Blackhawks, who have won 3 in the last 6 years, the Tampa Bay Lightning, who have been in the conference finals the last few years. They certainly play more speed and puck possession game, and the problem with playing physical is that it just slows you down at certain points. Like when you're in the neutral zone, certain places like that, it just slows down the pace of play. So it's easier to kind of like pinch people's hands off or put stick on puck and just retrieve the puck that way, turn and get up the ice. So that's why you're seeing a lot more teams go to that style of play, because it's just a lot more effective.
Well, Coach, let's talk about the defense and how they've been transitioned into getting into the play more this season. I think that's something that we've seen. There's a good group of core defensemen that are coming over from last year's team, and a nice mix of freshmen that are on the roster as well. How do you think that transition is going in terms of the defense really starting to get into the play for Alabama?
Well, referring back to the previous question about how the game of hockey is evolving, defensemen are really getting involved more in the play, whether it's in the breakout in the defensive zone, whether it's on the transition and zone entries or rushes going into the offensive zone. And I think all of our defensemen have done a really good job kind of evolving their own styles to be able to help more in the offensive part of our game as a team. So, we have some players that is like really their type of game, and other ones that were kind of more defensive defensemen that have kind of evolved and done a really good job of working on skill development, working on, recognizing when to jump in the play, when not to jump in the play. You can see that we do a really good job of shrinking, is what we refer to it as. A lot of people will call it like pinching. That's kind of the old school term, but the new school term is shrinking. So we do a really good job of shrinking in the offensive zone to keep the puck in play, and you can see that it's really paid off for us in many of our games where we've scored 9, 10, 11 goals, and we're just going to continue to try to get better at that, and hopefully our offense can be a little bit more consistent going forward in the year.
Coach, the opponent this weekend for Alabama, the UAB Blazers, the first time that those two programs have ever matched up against each other. And I know earlier in the season when Alabama played Middle Tennessee State, you talked about playing young programs and how it helps everyone. And I think Alabama, going into the contest is probably favored to win the game, but that's not necessarily the point. When you match up against an ACHA Division III program, UAB this season is non-ACHA, but they're trying to get to that status next year. So if you could, let's just talk about what it means to play these lower tier programs, or these programs that are just starting out, in terms of helping the development of everyone involved, really.
Well, Dave Monaco, UAB's president, and their head coach, Steve Kendall, have done a really good job the first couple months of the year, really building a foundation for their program. So we thought it was really important that, since they use the same rink that we do here at the Pelham Civic Complex, that it would be a really good showcase for both programs that are local to the area. They're a little bit closer than we are, but using the same home rink, I think, is important, that everybody gets a lot of attention for the good things that they're doing. So, we anticipate a really big crowd this weekend, and we think it's going to be a really good matchup. So, we really appreciate them kind of matching up with us. I think they will represent their school really well, and Steve Kendall will coach them to be really prepared this weekend. So we look forward to the matchup.
This has been this week's edition of the John Bierchen Show. Thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you again next week.